yo, it's Marc with the Fantasy Knockout Fantasy Football Show. Today is Tuesday, November 29th. I'm excited for today's show. It is the Week 13 must-add players. Who are we looking at this week? What's the flavor of the week for quarterback and defense? You can follow the show at Fantasy Knockout on any social media platform. Make sure to subscribe whatever platform you're watching or listening on, and let's hit this new goal of 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Let's talk some news.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here is the news.
News with views. So running back Melvin Gordon, he was a free agent. The Denver Broncos, they had released him. They cut him. Reports are the Chiefs are expected to sign Gordon to their practice squad. So more depth pieces for Kansas City. Yay. More crowded backfield. Yay. Running back Michael Carter from the New York Jets. His head coach Robert Saleh said that Carter is questionable for Week 13 with a low ankle sprain. So James Robinson should be active. He was inactive this last week because he doesn't really play special teams. So he should be activated. Zonovan Knight should be, we're going to talk about him later. He should be added. I think they're going to split carries in the backfield there. Wide receiver Darnell Mooney out of Chicago. He's going to be out for the season with a ankle injury, and he possibly might need surgery. Bummer. Kid was starting to pick it up with Fields. Running back J.K. Dobbins out of Baltimore. He has been designated to return from injured reserve with his knee issues, so he should be coming back soon. Running back Joe Mixon from Cincinnati. He is still in the concussion protocol. His head coach Zach Taylor said Mixon is making progress, but his comment on his availability next week was kind of vague, so he might miss another week. We have to monitor this. Wide receiver Jameson Williams from Detroit. His head coach Dan Campbell said it would take a, quote, a lot when asked about the possibility of Williams playing this week. So the William guys who are stashing him, probably not this week, maybe next week, hopeful. Then quarterback Aaron Rodgers from Green Bay. Reports say that Rodgers will undergo an MRI and a CT scan. He's already been dealing with a fractured thumb, and he sustained rib injury. And I think in the press conference, he was talking about a possible punctured lung. So we don't know the extent of Rodgers' injuries. Jordan Love, will be talking about him later on in the show too. And then quarterback Deshaun Watson out of Cleveland. He has officially been reinstated from his 11-game suspension, so he is now available to play, and he gets Houston revenge game this week. Main event, players to add for Week 13, the waiver wire edition. Teams on bye this week, just two, thank goodness, is Arizona Cardinals and the Carolina Panthers. So I got these players listed in importance by position. So we'll start off with some quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson heads it up. He's out of Cleveland. He's about 58% owned. See if he's available. Still not sure about starting him. We'll talk about that in the next show. Mike White from the New York Jets. He looked good. He's about 4% owned. Trevor Lawrence out of Jacksonville. Check to see if he's out there. He's got a good matchup. He's about 61% owned. And then Jordan Love, with the news of Rodgers being missing. Jordan Love looked pretty decent in coming in and replacing Rodgers in the game. He's about 1% owned. Some tight ends. Hayden Hurst out of Cincinnati. He's 65% owned. See if he's available. Most likely owned, but see if he's out there. And Evan Ingram out of Jacksonville, he's about 40% owned. Juan Johnson missed a touchdown opportunity this week. Would have had a nice week. He's about 48% owned. Hunter Henry out of New England, he's starting to get it back with Mac Jones. He's about 30% owned. All right, some running backs. Let's check to see if these guys are out there. Their names, their owned percentage is kind of low, surprising me. So I'm going to say their names. They're probably owned in your leagues, but just double check. Brian Robinson out of Washington, 68% owned. Gus Edwards out of Baltimore, 56% owned. Samaje Perine out of Cincinnati, 65% owned. These guys should be picked up and started right now. Zonovan Knight from New York, he's the guy that filled in and looked really good last week. He's about 1% owned. You can pick him up in case with the Carter news of Carter being out, and we'll see about James Robinson. JaMychal Hasty out of Jacksonville with Travis Etienne, missing some time. They said he was good to go back in, but they didn't put him in there. Hasty looked good. He's getting more of the third down role in there in Jacksonville. He's about 3% owned. Kyron Williams from Los Angeles, he's the main running back there. He's about 37% owned. Jerick McKinnon out of Kansas City, he's about 38% owned. And then Ty Johnson from New York, he's getting some of that third down roll work. He's about 1% owned. If you're in need of a wide receiver, Treylon Burks out of Tennessee, he's about 51% owned. This guy is the number one guy there in Tennessee. Zay Jones looked good this week. He's out of Jacksonville. He's about 25% owned. Paris Campbell out of Indianapolis, 54% owned. Donovan Peoples-Jones out of Cleveland, 50% owned. Isaiah McKenzie from Buffalo, he's about 33%. Elijah Moore, he was a stash last weekend, going into this week, had a nice game with Mike White. He's out of the New York Jets. He's about 26% owned. Mac Hollins from the Raiders from Las Vegas, he's about 21% owned. Michael Gallup out of Dallas, he was getting a lot of targets this week on Thanksgiving. He's about 48% owned. Some streaming quarterbacks that we got to look at this week. The guy that's going to lead off for me is Trevor Lawrence out of Jacksonville. He's at Detroit. He's 61% owned. He's got the solid matchup, and he has had 20-plus points in the last 2 games, so he's putting it together. He's heating up with the NBA Jam rules, heating up, right? We're hoping he catches. Yes. Kenny Pickett from the Steelers. He's another good streamable option this week. He's at Atlanta. He's about 11% owned. He's got a nice matchup, and he's got a solid floor with his rushing upside. And then on the quarterback on the other side there is Marcus Mariota. He's from Atlanta. He's got Pittsburgh. 38% owned. Solid matchup. Hopefully he can get multiple touchdowns. But not too many quarterbacks that we got to worry about streaming this week. Some defenses. Cleveland Browns, they're the number 1 defense I'd pick up and start this week. They're at Houston. They're about 8% owned. The last 3 games, they have 6 sacks. And again, it's Houston. I want to stream any defense against Houston right now. And then the Seattle Seahawks, they're at the Rams. They're about 19% owned. The last 3 games, 6 sacks with 4 interceptions. And they're going against the Rams backup quarterback. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today. The next show is Week 13 must-start players. Thank you for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe, whatever platform you're watching or listening on, and leave that rating and review. Really helps me out. All right. Till next time. See ya.